Welcome everyone. My name is Mike Lisco, for those of you that don't know me. Welcome to today's session. Really looking forward to an incredible event. I'm part of the EOA board as co-learning chair with Eleanor Bloom. So really looking forward to some amazing learning events. So today's session is really going to be incredible. We are joined by Marius Greef, who is the co-founder of Turnleftmedia. Marius has over 10 years experience in the digital and media space with 6 years of dedicated LinkedIn knowledge. So he brings firm knowledge through the line marketing practices coupled with strategic consumer relationships and digital insights. So yeah, it's going to be an amazing session. So glad you can join us today. And in the session today, you're going to learn to effectively showcase your professional identity on LinkedIn, develop a thought leadership matrix, share and engage with employees, customers, and key stakeholders, and also the most effective types of content to share, as well as best practices for social leadership engagement. So I think, in terms of the online presence, specifically on LinkedIn, it's a great tool to use, especially if you are in the B2B space. So yeah, what we're going to do is hand over to Marius, and then we will have a Q&A session towards the end. So we can have a big round of applause for Marius. That would be great. Thank you. Over to you, Marius.
Hey, everybody. Mike, Laura, thank you so much for the opportunity today. Calvin for initially starting the conversation. And it's actually good to see a few names on the attendee list for people that I have dealt with before. And again, thank you just very much for the opportunity. Turnleftmedia, the business that I represent, looks after LinkedIn from a marketing perspective across sub-Saharan Africa. But the thing that we always start with whenever we talk to anybody about LinkedIn, we always start talking about what are the organic things that you can do to make your business be more successful. And it's things like positioning your brand from a owned perspective. It's about activating your employees, but more importantly, it's also about activating your thought leaders. Now, in every business today, there is this growing need and this growing opportunity for us to differentiate ourselves as the world becomes more connected, as digital is now social, mobile, artificial intelligence, as all of these things brings us closer together. Brands are really struggling to maintain this eminence. HR is fighting a war for the brightest talent. Our salespeople are fighting for customers' attention. And so many employees are struggling to find meaning and purpose in their work. And I mean, the competitive edge in our world is still the same now that it has been since the dawn of humanity. And it's about, the human connection, and it's about relationships. So leaders, have this responsibility to share our vision and our mission and our direction and ideas, and help our clients, our employees, and our shareholders make sense of this complex world. And it's really important, and I'll delve a little bit into the research, where we see that, engaged employees, engaged thought leaders offers significantly better performance for our businesses. Our clients are looking for that human connection. So whenever I talk to anybody about this topic, whether it's a one-man show who's looking to start their business, or I talk to the big banks, everybody is looking for that differentiator. For a bank, everybody has a debit card and everybody has a credit card. If you think about an automobile, that a Uno and a Ferrari both have 4 wheels and an engine. So what makes people willing to pay that much more for a Ferrari than an Uno? And it's the intangible assets, the intangible conversations we have that build up the brand, that make the story. And for entrepreneurs, at the heart of it, the biggest thing that we have is the ability to tell our story. So when we started Turnleftmedia, my co-founder John and I, we always joke and say, tech brands and tech businesses normally need to have a really cool name, and you have to have a cool founding story. And the reason where Turn Left came from was, 5 years ago, John and I were sitting in Johannesburg International. We were busy, getting ready to board a plane to go to LinkedIn in New York for one of their annual conferences. But it was also the first time we were going to go and talk to them about how we saw this partnership evolving and changing. And as we got to the front of the plane, we poor South Africans, we were flying via Kazakhstan. We showed the air hostess our cards, and she said, well, why don't you, turn right for capital class for economy? And we thought, wouldn't that be a great name? How do you, turning left is about, talking to that business class and that first class customer and experience and employees. And that ability for you to have this authentic one-on-one conversation with people at scale through digital now is the thing that really is driving a lot of the engagement and a lot of the attention that we see. And it's really important to be intentional with our influence. It's not often discussed, but if you think about it, there's studies that have been done that shows the average person over their lifetime has the ability to influence at least 80,000 people across their networks of friends and clients, peers. So imagine the influence that you have to shift the needle for your business. And the thing is, why do we even bother? What is in it for us? The reality is that today most consumers avoid advertising, and we've seen this pattern grow year on year. Where now 3 out of every 4 people avoid advertising, and it's not just about installing ad blockers anymore. People are inherently training themselves to not look at conversations or not look at the spaces where advertising normally appears, and they're not sure that they can trust what brands say. If you think about the fake news media and all of the stuff that's happening in the States, if you look at the reports this morning where Facebook and Google and Amazon were hauled in front of the US Congress, there's not a month that goes by where a new scandal and a new opportunity for controversy isn't being highlighted. And it's against this background, where we have to think about what the situation is. So people are avoiding display advertising. They don't trust what they're saying, and they're starting to doubt influencers too. But the inherent truth is that people still trust people. And I think the COVID situation, and there's a massive amount of fatigue about this as well, but I think the COVID situation has highlighted the trust that people still have in people. If we think about the examples across the US, and we think about South Africa, where scientists, again, are being shown as the most trusted people across our community, followed by people we know, followed by citizens in my own country, and then followed by business decision makers, CEOs and journalists, because it's this opportunity to expose ourselves to critique that is driving that salience and driving that consideration. And it's the hard reality is that our employees expect more from their executives. So people trust people that is local. So my employer continues to be the most trusted relationship I can have with a brand. And employees want to be part of the solution. They want to be included in the planning, and they want to be part of the conversation. So there's a stat that says by 2025, more than 80% of the global workforce is going to be millennial. And they want jobs that make them feel empowered, and more importantly, employees want a sense that they're shaping the future of the society. So by inviting them into the conversation, we're creating opportunities for our employees through our thought leadership to be the biggest drivers of that conversation. And our executives, we are starting to realize that we've got this power to change the executive position. And we have all of the tools today in our quiver to make those actions happen. And the thing is, so there's a study by a brand called Edelman that talks about why thought leadership works. And I just want to read key points. So the first one, 55% of business decision makers use thought leadership as an important way to vet their decision-making process and invite people to consider working with them. We have had examples where we talk about B2B and we talk about thought leadership, and we have great examples of where people then say, well, listen, can you come and talk to us about it? On average, most executives today spend between an hour and 2 hours every week reading thought leadership articles. So the growth in consumption is motivating our spend. But the truth is, whether or not you're the CEO, you have a professional network with whom you want to interact and inform and influence, and you've got the platforms to help you do this. Right? Now, we don't want you to just aimlessly go out there and start building up a profile and start having conversation. It has to align with what your IRL in real life goals are as well. So if you think about it, what are the things that I need to achieve from an executive position? It is about building your network, but it's about using yourself as a vehicle to help your business development. Executives are more likely to engage with senior members of businesses and with business leaders. So use that to share your ideas, to have interesting conversations, to do business development. And figure out the channels that are more likely or most likely to lead you into those situations. And again, we never advocate that you just use LinkedIn, because I don't just use LinkedIn, and our business doesn't just use LinkedIn. But we use each of these different platforms in a very clear-cut way to serve different purposes. So I use LinkedIn from a business perspective and a personal perspective. From a business perspective, to generate awareness around our services and offerings. And then from a personal perspective, to position our employees and staff as the thought leaders. I use Twitter and Instagram from an employer brand perspective. I use YouTube as a space to curate the conversations and the content that we're developing, so we can create streams of evergreen content. And you need to think about each of these channels and realistically what's possible for you as a brand and how do you use each one. But if you choose to use LinkedIn, there's a very valid reason why you want to do so. So if we think about how personal networks work and professional networks work, there's a big difference. So personal networks, things like Facebook, for example, they're there because I want to spend time. So I go there to be entertained. I want to find out what my friends are doing. Like, I can't remember anybody's birthdays. So I use Facebook for that. And then we go to professional networks because we want to invest time. So we have each have a very small, limited amount of information. We have a very small amount of time each day that we have to complete a lot of things. So we want to use only the platforms that gives us a scalable return on investment. So I go into LinkedIn because I want to connect with my clients. I want to build up relationships with my peers and with my industry. I go there because I want to read a thought leadership article. So if I have 5 minutes, I go into LinkedIn, I want to read an article about a particular topic that's of interest to me, and that I can then go and I can use it in my career today. And the good news is, the reason why LinkedIn's important is because everybody is looking for a place that they can trust. We all want to start in a safe environment, and year on year, LinkedIn has been ranked as the most trusted digital platform for our conversations, for our digital identity. If I think about, using Google search, if you've never been narcissistic, now's a perfect time. While I'm talking, go onto Google quickly and just Google yourself. So type in Mike Lusko and see what the first search result is that appears. If you've got a LinkedIn platform and you have spent 20 minutes of your time filling out that platform at all, it should generally be the first search result that appears. And the reason why that's important is because you are helping yourself and you're helping your business curate how people see you. So if I have a choice between how I want people to perceive me, I'd much rather them reach out to me first as a professional on LinkedIn than on my Facebook or my Instagram. And, you know, LinkedIn has done a lot. I mean, I've worked with LinkedIn over the last 10 years, and it has done a lot to build up a network of the world's professionals. And it's all about helping people be more productive and successful. So globally today, we've got over 619 million members in more than 50 million companies. But that's not what's important for us. In South Africa alone, we've got more than 7 million members, 136,000 companies. If you think about the JSE top 100 companies, if you think about all of the banks, all of the automotive brands, every single one of those businesses have got a presence on LinkedIn. Their employees are on LinkedIn. Their executives are on LinkedIn. And you've got the ability to have these conversations with them. So LinkedIn is not the same as Facebook, right? So Facebook, I think the last count was they had 28 million active members on the platform, and that's great. But if we think about our population, there's more than 58 million people in the country. In the last statistics here, there was 14 million people who were registered for personal income tax, and there's only 5.2 million people who actually pay. So LinkedIn is a great space if you want to reach people that are employed, that are educated, that are professionals. And it's also one of the few places where you can have a conversation with all of the people that matter to your business. So you can talk to your employees, people who are going to be advocating your reputation to their networks. You can talk to your customers. They're going to be voting with their wallets, as well as stakeholders. They're the guys who are going to be reacting to your reputation by way of stock prices and policy changes. And it's the one place where you can triangulate all these conversations. So the first thing that we have to do, the first thing fundamentally that we focus on, is building up a great profile. Now, a great profile doesn't replace the human interactions that you have with people on a day-to-day basis. But a great LinkedIn profile is the same as a great website. You don't know when people are going to discover a business need or when they're going to activate this business need. So you want to make sure that you, the same as your website, are available to people at any given time, and that your professional identity is the best representation of your business that it can be. So I'm going to share with you a couple of really simple, easy things that you can do, that you can think about to make sure that your profile is the best representation it can be. And while we're doing this exercise, also think about your employees. So on average, your employees collectively have got networks that normally are 10 times bigger than all of the followers of your company page as well. So make sure that all of those touch points, all of your employees have got the opportunity to represent your business as well. So the first thing we focus on is findability. Now, again, LinkedIn works the same as Google. It's about creating a strategy, creating keywords, creating a framework that help people discover you as easily as possible. And the very first thing we do is we think about your URL. So again, if you look at your personal profile at the moment, if you haven't changed this before, your personal profile will be your name and your surname, and then it's got a whole bunch of random characters and random numbers in as well. So you want to go and view your profile, and in the top right-hand corner, you'll be able to edit. It'll give you a block in the right-hand rail that says you can edit your professional URL. And you want to go and you either want to go and take out, at the very least, just take out those numbers and those strange characters. And you can then edit that to focus on either just your name and surname. I've seen people do really well where they've included a call to action in their URLs, where they've spoken about their industry. So you can be Marius Greef on LinkedIn. So you can edit that URL to make it more easily recognizable, and then use it where in your email signature, on your business cards. Help people discover you. The second thing is make sure that you select a LinkedIn profile photo that truly represents you. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it just has to tell your professional community who you are, right? So, no, I've seen photos with dogs in it. I've seen people on the beach with their, their sunglasses on. So it doesn't have to be a professional headshot, but just think about how you represent yourself. So take a snap of your own on a high-res phone, get somebody else to do it for you. You can even use some of the LinkedIn photo filters to polish up your photo for you, right? So what you do is just think about it sort of from the armpits and up, and make sure that it's a good, clean headshot against the background that's not that busy. The next thing we have is what we call our header image. So every single person on LinkedIn has got this big blue background behind your profile photo. And you can go and you can edit this, what we call a billboard. You can go and you can edit this billboard to talk about you as an individual. So if you've got, if you've got photos of where you've spoken on a stage, for example, then include those. If you've got photos of your products and services, you can do those. You can include your contact details in that profile photo. Calvin, I'm gonna pick on you, for example. So Calvin, in his technology businesses, in his technology business, represents numerous brands. So use that headline image to go and add in your brand logos and show off the different brands that you represent. You want to make sure that, the same as a billboard, the first time people land on your page, they immediately get a sense of the value that you can add to their business. The second thing you also want to focus on is your headline, right? Now, your headline is, if you haven't changed it before, your headline is going to be your most recent job experience. But together with your profile photo, your headline is the first thing when somebody searches for you on LinkedIn that they're going to see. So your profile photo and your headline, the first two things. And you want to use your headline to explain to people what it is that you do, how you are going to help them, and why they should connect with you. So, and you can make it as long or as short as you need to. So Reid Hoffman is about the entrepreneur, product strategist, and inventor. Michael talks about designing wellness programs that help people. So there's a clear value proposition already. Clara talks about her role, she talks about her business, and she talks about her vertical. So mine, for example, will say, I help build brands on LinkedIn in Africa. So clearly there's already a very simple explanation of how people can connect. So think of if there are three components, think about your industry, think about the role that your business plays, and think about the value that you add to your customer. And try and get that in between 20 and 30 words. You should also think about drafting a compelling summary. So your summary is your elevator pitch. It should include an introduction to you, but also highlight your accomplishments and inspirations. You want to keep it short and sweet, and there's no need to list all of your career accomplishments. So your summary is also going to look different based on your role and based on the business that you are. So from a business perspective, you want to talk about the way that you approach business. You want to talk about how the business is growing. You want to think about how the business has solved customers' needs. If you're a salesperson, you want to talk about how you can connect with people to solve their value. If you are focusing on thought leadership, then you want to use your summary to talk to people about the elements that you're going to showcase to them on a daily or a weekly or a monthly basis. So if you use all of these things, you're going to help people better understand the talents and how you want to contribute to their professional existence. You also want to detail your work experience. Now, experience is your opportunity to tell your professional story. And it's a great way to showcase your experiences, to write it in very short paragraphs rather than just bullet points. Again, because we're entrepreneurs, because we're focusing on our businesses, we want to use every piece of our profile to sell what our business can do. So also, while you're writing these sections, think about not just the experiences that you bring, but also think about the value that these experiences has taught you. Okay, so while it's great to talk about the things that you've done, it's also even better to show people what you've done. So you can actually go in, whether it's in your summary or whether it's in these work experiences, and you can add examples of your work. So if you have done a case study before, if you've got a video testimonial, if you've done a really great presentation for people in the last while, you can go and add these elements into your profile and you can make it more dynamic. And LinkedIn's done a lot of work over the last while to make this featured section a whole lot more interactive and also put it front and center of your personal profile. So you can actually go and you can, if you've done a great update on your LinkedIn profile, you can go and you can add that update into your profile as well. And just remember, it doesn't have to be content you own. For example, if your company has a brand video or you have brand assets, you can use them in your profile, especially in your experience section. You can also go in and add skills and get endorsed. So again, adding at least 5 skills gives you the opportunity for your profile to be 17 times more likely to be seen. So professionals are searching for key skills on LinkedIn, and it's a great way to be found by your network. And a lot of people say, well, you know what, listen, I've just got random people that endorse me for these skills. You are in full control of the skills that you list. So if you list 10 skills, you can go and you can rank them on your profile based on how you want people to see you. And the algorithm actually goes and looks at the experience of the people that are showcasing you, that are endorsing you. So if Calvin, for example, were to endorse me for digital marketing, it would go look at Calvin's experience within that particular industry or across that particular topic. And it ranks the experience of the individuals that endorse you. So if somebody then were to search for, in this case, were to search for Microsoft Office, then it would highlight this person above other people because it could see that you have more skills in this particular area, and it can see that more people who are highly skilled in this particular area endorse you. Now, the last thing I want to say on this is, things like being skilled in Microsoft Office and management is great, but it is very, very generic, right? So you don't want to feature for elements that are too generic. So think about the particular skills or the particular areas in your business that you can be endorsed for that really sets you apart. So, Calvin, I'm really sorry for picking on you. You're just a great example. I mean, Calvin does a lot of data analysis, visualization, social listening. Those terms, while they're broad enough, they're also not digital marketing. So if somebody was to search for social listening, it's a skill that's niche enough to actually give you gravitas. You also want to go and request recommendations. If you don't already have them, request a recommendation from your colleague, your manager, your partner. You can go and you can customize those requests. You can make sure to let the person know what you wanted to be recommended for specifically. So if you work together on a project, if you've helped a client out recently and you've done a really great job, then ask the client for a recommendation, because recommendations are the same as, they're the social currency we have today. where should I go on holiday? What is a great restaurant? What's a good business book to read? Which company should I work on for X, Y, and Z? Those recommendations give you the currency before people even have to engage with you. And then don't forget to add your location, to talk about your education. If you have any publications that you've authored, if you've done any research pieces, any white papers, and then have you received an industry award or won an honor? These types of things are really great to help you. So now that we've talked about how to take your profile specifically to the next level, and once you've done these things, you're going to have a rock star profile. It's going to be the best thing since sliced bread. We're now going to delve into how do you actually use that profile. I just want to ask quickly, maybe from Michael Laura, are there any questions so far?
So Marius, there's a question that came through from Calvin. If you want to answer it now, or would you prefer to have a Q&A session towards the end? What would you like?
I'm happy to talk through as we go through the sections, or we can keep them for the end as well.
Cool. If you're happy with that, then yes. If you don't mind, everyone just to post your questions, and then we'll pose them to Marius at the end. Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. So a business is about people. Whether it's a message of encouragement, a helpful insight, a milestone, an achievement. These small moments that we share with others make relationships stronger. And LinkedIn allows us to optimize our ability to nurture relationships at scale. So again, it's not about replacing the physical interactions that we have, the day-to-day interactions, but it's about amplifying that and nurturing those relationships even further. So I think everybody who's an entrepreneur, myself included, we're all in the role of business development. And unfortunately, we can't be in our clients' offices, every day, 24 hours a day. So we use our platforms, we use LinkedIn to amplify these connections. So the first one is this ability to show that we care about our employees. So when people feel that you care about them and the work they do, that engagement increases and they grow more committed to your company's success. So a simple way is to use LinkedIn to connect with employees on a personal level. So celebrate their hard work and their contributions. Personalize this by tagging the individuals using the @ symbol. So when people celebrate work anniversaries, when they've done a phenomenal piece on a project, then you can go and you can amplify that to your network and to their network. You can also build this community with your peers. You can keep up with people and make new connections as your business evolves. You can consider the positive impact you could have on people outside of your network in supporting their career journey. And what I would love to do is, after the end of the session, get everybody on the screen, take a quick screenshot just for my ability to say thank you for the session we have today, because it is about how do we stay in touch. And then the most important thing is this ability for LinkedIn that lets us communicate directly with our customers at scale. So customers value authenticity. They want to see that the brands they buy from and engage in understand who they are and care about making a positive impact. And it gives us this ability to keep up with our customers by following their activity on LinkedIn and sharing your insights. So one of the simplest hacks I've ever seen on how to use LinkedIn, a little insider tip, is after every business meeting, after every interaction, you've got the opportunity to showcase your thought leadership and to showcase your connection to the brand. So today it's a little bit more tricky, but whenever we went to Sasol, for example, or to Standard Bank, or to any of these clients, we'll generally go and we'll take a photo in the foyer, or we'll ask the guys once, when we do a big event, do you mind if we just take a photo with you outside against your wall? And then the next day we'll go and we'll post that photo on LinkedIn, and we'll tag the brand and we'll tag those individuals in the post and say thank you for the opportunity to talk about LinkedIn. And these are the high level things that we spoke about. So not only does that garner authenticity and affection from the brand and from the people, but it also exposes the conversations and the pain points and opportunities to your network. And you can bet that their competitors and the people within their vertical are following their brand and they're following these people. And it gives you this opportunity to be seen by them as well. So a great example of this is whenever the Queen in the UK holds an investiture for night terms, every woman in that session has to wear a formal hat, obviously except the Queen, she's the Queen. But it's part of the dress code. You can't get there, you can't be in attendance if you don't wear a hat. So during the COVID period, the hat makers in London were experiencing lots of challenges. Their clientele had dropped. So what one woman did is she actually had a look and looked at who was the list of people who were going to be invested in the next session. She found each of those business leaders on LinkedIn, and she then sent them a personal connection request and a personal message to give them the opportunity to look at her wares, to understand what her business was doing, and to think about, using her for the service. And I think she sold about 20 different, custom hats. And it's a small example, but this ability to connect to the people that matter, at scale and have that one-on-one conversation and introduce our businesses, that hasn't changed. And it's the authenticity that really does drive that conversation. It's the authenticity to be seen that helps us. And don't underestimate the amount that you have to say. Don't overestimate how much you need to do to achieve your goals, right? So think about when you create this thought leadership, think about all of these elements that you can use to impact it. So where is the white space that exists within your market, right? How do I make my content more relevant? How do I share my vision? Or how do I build trust amongst my target audience? So the 4 steps that I want to share, the first one is just think about how do I build up my audience on LinkedIn, and then develop a plan, develop a thought leadership matrix around what I want to say. Then once you've done that, create the content that's going to help you. And make sure that you nurture your relationship with the audience and that you measure the impact. So the most important thing we can do is we can understand what are people talking about and why should they care. So think about who your ideal target audience is. What do they look like? What are you, and the good thing is you can do all of this research on LinkedIn for free. So if my target audience is CMO and business strategists, I can go find those people on LinkedIn. I can find their profiles. I can find the groups that they belong to. I can find the pages that they follow. I can see the conversations that they're having on the platform. I can see what are the questions that people ask. Are there lots of questions that they keep asking that comes up more often? Are there specific themes that they talk about a lot, but there's not a lot of material that's being written about it? Are there any trends that people are looking to? What are the misconceptions or the objections that people have? And where's the white space within those conversations that I can help those clients fulfill? How do I build up that? I then go, once I know who my audience is, what are they talking about, and where are the gaps, I then go and lay out my thought leadership matrix. And the thought leadership matrix is a one-pager that crystallizes my strategy for my voice. So the first thing I talk about is, what do I want to be known for? What do I want people to think about? I then go and build out these themes into pockets of conversation. So in my case, my thought leadership matrix is, I want to be known as the voice of LinkedIn and B2B in Africa. So what are my content themes? My first theme is LinkedIn. My second theme is B2B. And my third theme is around transparency and trust, because it's a big topic in social media and it's a big topic among senior executives. I then look at the amount of content that I can generate or that I can find that I can share, and I push out a regular cadence, because this is really important. Once we know that thought leadership is something we want to focus on, we want to make sure that once we start it, we keep at it, because people are creatures of habit. Also then want to make sure that the hashtags I use are appropriate. So what are the combination of hashtags that allow me to reach my audience as frequently as possible? And it's really important to think about the things that matter to you. So if LinkedIn, was not a topic that I'm passionate about, then I couldn't talk about it every day. So find the things that you're passionate about. A great example, so we've done a lot of work with a lot of executives across the banking industry. So we sat and we did this exercise with a banker the other day, and he said, listen, like, how do I make Forex more exciting? And we spoke about, his habits and his personal behaviors, and he's a massive cyclist. So we said to him, think about the preparation that you do in order to do a 200-kilometer race or a 300-kilometer race. Or when you do Sony to see, think about the logistics that goes into that, right? So when you prepare for a race, as you train, you spend every day and you cycle 10 kilometers or 15 kilometers or 20 kilometers. You follow a very strict regime. So how can you use that example of a real life passion and draw the simile in Forex? How do you think about the future? How do you prepare for it? How do you measure success? Use your real life passions and marry that with your topic. And a great example is from a lady called Dr. Ola Brown. She established the first air ambulance service in Western Africa, Flying Doctors Nigeria. And she was inspired to start this company after her younger sister died while traveling in Nigeria. So if you've ever been in Nigeria, like just driving around in Lagos in those streets is already a adventure worthy of any 4x4. But if you go outside of Lagos, the roads just get worse and worse and worse. So you can imagine in some places, like ambulances can't reach people. And there was no legislation or services that allowed people to, use flying ambulance services. So what Dr. Brown did is she started connecting with the people in her network and within her ecosystem that could help affect change. So she started connecting with doctors, with stakeholders, with hospitals. And she shared her own perspective of why it's important. She wrote articles. She found content pieces by other individuals that spoke about this need. She found statistics that she shared. And she managed to build up a network of 550,000 followers then. Today it's over 800,000 people who are actively interested in what she's sharing. And because of this, she's managed to change healthcare reform in Nigeria. And she only did it because she could use LinkedIn to influence this. We work with people like Adrian Gore, for example, and he talks a lot about his experiences in the healthcare industry. How did he start Discovery? How is this relevant and important for him as an individual? So he's making sure that his story resonates with people. And then we have to think about, how do we get our message across? So there are 3 ways that you can publish content on LinkedIn. The first one is these short form pieces of content. This is your bread and butter. So we work with we looked on LinkedIn the other day, and we saw that Mark One, a digital agency in South Africa, that they had written a really great content piece on some of the developments that had been happening on the LinkedIn platform. So all I did was I literally just went and I shared that piece of content to my network. I gave a shout out to Mark One and to one of the founders and to the person who had actually written out the content. Just saying that it's really great when the businesses we work with find success on the platform, and we amplify that. And it took me 2 minutes. So again, Calvin works with Hootsuite. He works with a lot of other brands. Hootsuite produces content on a daily basis that talks about community management and social listening. He doesn't have to worry about, where do I find content? He can use that same content, and he can spend 2 minutes writing 1 or 2 sentences that shares his unique perspective. You can delve deeper and you can write articles. You don't have to have a personal blog or a personal website. You can write articles on LinkedIn. And then don't underestimate the power of video. Video is now the most consumed content form on LinkedIn. It's growing year on year, and it makes our lives a lot easier. So instead of having to worry about writing a 1,000-word article, I can literally take out my phone and I can spend 5 minutes sharing my viewpoint and then posting that on LinkedIn. You can even now do that live, and it's a fantastic way of just cutting through the clutter. If you're sitting at home today and you're really passionate about some topics, just take out the phone and say, these are my thoughts. Here's the 5 highlights. You can literally, after this session today, you can say, listen, I've just done a LinkedIn session. Here's 5 tips on how to get your LinkedIn profile right, or how to do thought leadership. And that's already a valuable piece of content. But it's really important to think about, how do you start conversations? Once you start putting that content out there and people start engaging, don't leave them hanging, right? So it's a simple way of broadening out and building on the momentum that your content generates. Somebody comments, comment back. If there's 10 comments on one of your articles, don't comment on all 10 today. Comment on 5 today and 5 tomorrow. And LinkedIn will build out that algorithm to say, listen, more people are engaging, or there's continuous engagement. Let's try and rank up that piece. The last thing I want to add is just understanding your audience. Once you've put out that piece of content, and it generates impressions, it generates engagements, you can actually go in a 2 or 3 days time, and you can see, based on the impressions, who are the people that are engaging with your audience. What are their roles? What companies they're coming from? What industries? Use those insights over time to validate that the people you're speaking to are the right people, that it's the right content, and then use that to inform your strategy and change your strategy based on the people that are actually engaging and interacting with you. And that is it in a very not so short nutshell.
Marius, thank you very much. I think that was such a great takeout in terms of some key insights and practical examples. So thank you very much for sharing those tips. I think especially getting clients to provide testimonials and recommendations to your LinkedIn profile. Also connecting with clients you've met on LinkedIn to grow your network, which essentially on LinkedIn is a powerful way to grow a quality network. And also sharing your personal stories. So thank you very much for that. So guys, if you've got some questions, please pose them in the chat box. There are some coming through. The first question that we have is from Calvin. He's asking Marius, what kind of thought leadership is resonating with people most these days? Are blogs worthwhile? I know you've mentioned video is very powerful. Is that all encompassing, or are case studies doing the trick?
So I don't like, putting all of my eggs in one basket. I generally try and spread out my risk. So, in our content strategy, we do sort of case studies on Mondays. We do blog articles on Tuesdays. We share outside articles from other businesses on Wednesdays. We generally try and do a video or a podcast video once or twice a week. It's finding the balance of things that you can do, and maybe if you can only do one post a week, or you can do one article a month, or you can do one video, then that's enough, right? So try and, especially in the beginning, try and do a lot of different things and actually see what the content is that the audience is resonating with, and then you start focusing on those things. And again, it's about consistency. So, the guy who heads up LinkedIn Marketing Solutions is a gent called Henry Price, and he's based in New York. So what he started doing is he started posting static questions on his LinkedIn profile, and he got a few comments from people that were interested in specific topics. And then on the way to work every day from his subway station to the LinkedIn office, he would answer those questions. So he would use a combination of these things to build out that awareness.
Awesome, thank you for that. And Marius, I know that we've spoken about essentially LinkedIn being utilized to gain new sales and improve your business development. But from a hiring point of view, I mean, you can also find key staff or team members. What's your approach on that?
Absolutely. So LinkedIn is still a platform of 7 million people in South Africa and 690 million members. The reason why there's millions of recruiters on the platform is because these scarce resources, people like developers and coders and analysts, they're still on the platform. So it's a great way to still find those scarce resources. I think the caveat is that more people now they've got the power in their hands. So it's not just about reaching out to those people. It's also about convincing them, why they should work for you. And the scarcer the resource, the harder you need to do from a convincing perspective. So, think about, how do I build up my employer brand as well as driving employment?
Cool, thank you. And then there's a question from Darren Smithson. Darren is asking, with so many paid subscriptions for all sorts of programs these days, he's asking, is LinkedIn Premium a necessity?
No. So, LinkedIn as a platform is purposefully built that the free version should have as much functionality as possible. So everything that I spoke about today, you can do through the free version. There's nothing that I spoke about today that you have to pay for, right? Premium, depending on what version of premium you use, premium can serve a couple of different purposes. So if you want to use it for individual recruitment, you can do that. If you want to build out your sales capabilities, right? So you want to be better at utilizing your network and utilizing your staff, then you can use premium licenses. If you want to learn, so if you want to use things like LinkedIn Learning to build up new skills, then premium works. Like if you are a massive networker, and you want to reach people outside of your second degree connections, or you want to be able to reach people who you're not connected to and you want to send messages directly into your inbox, or you want to use LinkedIn because you want to use it for a lot of research, then it's then premium becomes valuable. But for most of us, day to day, premium, you don't have to have it.
Awesome, thank you. And then Marius, just in terms of your opinion on accepting invites through your LinkedIn profile, would you accept anyone's invite?
No, absolutely not. We spoke about this with Laura a few minutes before the session started, but there's a reason why most businesses have got receptionists. You don't just want any random person to walk into your office. And it's exactly the same thing on LinkedIn. You want to make sure the value that you get out of LinkedIn is based on your connections. So if you are just accepting everybody, then your newsfeed, your primary interaction with LinkedIn is going to become cluttered and useless pretty quickly. So you want to be as judicious as possible and make sure the people that you allow in are going to add value to your professional network, right? So the person that I'm allowing into my network, have I met them face before? Have we dealt with each other before? Do we have shared connections? Are they sharing content that's valuable to me? Do I see a future benefit to these people being part of my network? If the answer is no, then please don't let them in. And just set aside half an hour every quarter or an hour every quarter just to go through your network and look at the people that you've let in and decide and think about, have they added value? Have they irritated you? Or have they shared useless content? And if the answer is yes, then take them out. They can't see that you've removed them as a connection.
Great, that's some great advice. And then there's a question from Oran. Oran is asking, it seems like the energy that a company needs to put into social media sometimes outweighs the ROI. So what case studies have had a tangible and measurable impact on businesses you've worked with?
Listen, like doing all of this, and as an entrepreneur, we don't have a social media team, and we don't have a marketing team of 20 people that I can just farm this out to. So I work with our teams personally to develop our social media calendar and to help with the copy and to help with the images. You have to roll up your sleeves and get your hands dirty. So you want to make sure that the value that you get out of it is high, right? But if you do it well, then the benefit should be obvious. So we work with all of the automotive brands. We work with all of the telcos, all of the banks, all of the higher education institutions. We've got tons of case studies of people who do this successfully. We just had a car brand recently. They've sold more vehicles on LinkedIn than anybody else. We had a financial institution who spent 20,000 Rand on a campaign and closed a R500,000 deal. So the ROI, it does take investment. So don't dissuade that, but you want to make sure that if you're doing this on a platform where you're actually going to get real returns, and LinkedIn helps with that.
Awesome, thank you. I'm cognizant of time, and I know that there's one or two questions that hopefully we can get to. So there's a question from Darren Mansour just around him having some clients that have picked up false brand accounts on LinkedIn. These accounts are being used to run ads for jobs. Do you know how LinkedIn is dealing with fraudulent or fake accounts?
Yeah, so LinkedIn's got an active program, and I think they've deleted about 30,000 fake profiles and brand accounts over the last year alone. So that actually, there is an active process to make sure that accounts are being deleted and consolidated. If you've got any specific examples, then you can reach out to me and we can escalate it to the LinkedIn team to take some direct action for you.
Cool, thank you very much, Marius. Laura, I don't know if you want to post the survey. If I may ask, it'll take literally less than a minute for everyone to complete. It helps us plan for the next learning events. So as soon as you get a gap, even straight after this, it'll be great to definitely get that feedback from you. So everyone, thank you very much for your time. Great to have you on the call, Marius. For those of you that we didn't get to the questions, I'll send them through to Marius, and then he'll be able to reach out to you directly. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time.
Thanks, everybody.
Look forward to seeing you at the next event. Thank you.
Have a good one. Cheers.
Bye, everyone.